I love that. All right. We are here, episode 1 of this beautiful, beautiful podcast. I am your most gracious host, Johnathan Silva, aka the Cutoff Man. And we are here to discuss the beginnings of this humble franchise dynasty, career, and ownership, and anything else you want to call this, whatever you want to call it, called Baseball Sucks, Fantasy Baseball. We're going to have some fun here. And I have joining me the commissioner himself, Mr. Daniel Stewart.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining on such short notice. We've had some technical difficulties, but we have figured them out, and we are here live to talk about controversies, the season, and, maybe some rule changes that people may or may not like. And, looking into the future and what that could be in store for us. But first on the market is, what can I say about Jonas? He's doing a great job with his ground rule trouble. It has been perfect for the first 2 episodes. Couldn't ask for any better other than, getting it done on time. Some were waiting hours or weeks for the second episode to drop. But, who are we to complain? Me, I'm going to complain either way. His predictions for game of the week last week was indeed game of the week, matchup of the week, whatever you want to call it. Gunnar pulling ahead of Adam by a few points, though they did have a controversy, Mr. Daniel, on the loophole of having basically to our notice, is infinite amount of pitchers on Sunday. You could just fill up your whole bullpen with starting pitchers and say, good luck, other guy. Any comments about that? Any ways we could fix it or keep it? I mean, what are your thoughts on that whole situation that happened?
Yeah, of course. So, for those who don't know, our league limit, as set by ESPN and Fantrax, usually has it starting at 12 games played starting. Now, the fun part is we've already had some issues with it, thanks to Fantrax not being able to identify the difference between starting pitching and relief pitching. So we bumped it up to 14, and we hadn't really had any issues. We knew of this, so-called loophole that could happen, but I'd say this past week definitely brought it into light. And the loophole, simple is if you hit your limit on a certain day, that day you can go as much over the limit, and then anything after that is blocked.
Right. And during that, we had a total combined from the two, 32 pitchers.
Yes.
That's crazy. Has a pitcher on a team even pitched 32? Have there been 32 games in the MLB season yet? I have to look.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue that has now been brought to my attention. But I like your question. Should it even be fixed? So where I struggle to figure out how to adjust for this issue is anyone could per se do this loophole. The issue I have with it is most of the time, and including this week with Adam, it was accidental. He lucked out and he had a week where a lot of his players, or a lot of his pitchers, got to pitch twice. A lot of luck has to go into having 4 of his starting pitchers pitch twice in 1 week. The issue is, if you want to intentionally abuse this, it would involve dropping a bunch of your pitchers. If you're saying you want to load up the bullpen, with 9 pitchers.
The win now scenario. Right, desperation.
The desperation, 7 weeks into the season, be my guest, you are going to have to drop a bunch of your pitchers. And in a league where pitcher injuries have been at an all-time high, if you want to ask Gunnar about that, I would say go ahead and abuse and drop your pitchers, because I guarantee you may win the week, but you're not going to win the season with this style. So that's where I'm at right now, but the commissioner will continue to look into it.
Yes, investigations are going on, but we have conferred that this was an accidental, even though the comments from Adam was, quote unquote, Gunner, there's no crying in baseball. End quote. So, I mean, intentional or not, the deed has been done. Gunner still ended up getting the W. So, I mean, no harm, no foul. But the foul could be. We'll see what this next week comes. If no one else does it, then it was just a one-time thing. But you got some people that have. I mean, you've seen the transactions. People are dropping pitchers and picking them up like flies, depending on who the matchups. Lefty righties, who's hot, who's not. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see teams drop 3, maybe 2 pitchers and grab some other pitchers that are starting on the Sunday just to be like, hey, I don't really care about these guys if they're gone. These guys are going to somehow hopefully get me positive points to try to get this W if it's a close matchup. But the pitcher situation, man, does Gunnar know about it? Beginning of the season, really devastating, losing damn near half of his pitching staff. And starting out the season, I believe it was 0-2. He was fuming, desperate to find anybody that can throw a ball and not, get negative points on his team. And he kept the rookie sensation, Paul Skeens, on his teams for 5 weeks? And for some reason, someone whispered into his ear and said, he's not going to get out of the minors anytime soon. So I think it's safe to say we can drop him. And the day he drops Paul Skeens is the day our commissioner found out he would be starting that day. That same day. And unfortunately, during that time, more than half of the league owners were in that call, and the waiver wires are set up to no one's imagination of, I think it's just random. I don't know how it's calculated, but our commissioner coincidentally got Paul Skeens that day. Next day, same day. Tomorrow, I don't know. Daniel, when did you get him? Same day or was it the next day?
I got him that night. I did.
That night, mere 8 hours later, he got him. So the controversy of, did Gunnar get paid to drop Paul Skeens? His actions, his words would say otherwise, but who are we to see but just the book of the cover? Cover of the book, book of the cover, cover of the book. Daniel, do you feel that it was an intentional drop, a mistake? Like, what could you see from the eyes of Gunnar of why he would drop Skeens in that circumstance? I mean, he kept him for 5 weeks. What was stopping him from keeping for an extra week?
I actually was asking this question myself because I just felt like the timing was miraculous, But Gunnar, I think he has been, rightfully so with all the injuries, he's been very intense when it comes to his pitching. And he's been holding on to him for basically the whole season, like you said, and he had read in an article, I don't know if it was an article or some little birdie told him, but he believed that Skeens was going to play another game in the minors. And he was like, I just can't keep waiting. I need pitchers that are going to produce now. And Birdie was wrong. Let's be real. He drops it, it hits waivers, and then ESPN drops the bombshell.
The coincidence of the same day drop, and Skeens is packing his bags, thinking he's not in the league anymore, just to get picked up and say, hey, I'm here to produce. But that first game on your team, he didn't really produce. I mean, yeah, he got his first MLB strikeout, but I hope a major league pitcher of his caliber and the prospect he is would get a strikeout. What he get you only 5 points on the start?
That's right, 5 points.
It begs the question: do they send him back down for another month? Like, was that just a little? Everybody's Gunnar's. I don't want to say it, but Gunnar's butt pucker when he's like, "Damn, I just really lost out on the future of potentially his team, his pitching staff." But only time will tell. We'll see what Pittsburgh does with Skeens, and I don't know what your plans are with him if you plan on trading him, because it's still a name to get traded for. I know Gunnar, I don't know if he's talk to you about a trade or anything like that, it's up to you to say so or not. But if I was you, I'd keep him and just to spite him just a little bit. Just get under his feathers, ruffle him up a little bit.
I think Paul Skeens will be sticking around with Big D for a little bit. I think that's the play.
Interesting. And staying on the subject of pitching, the questions of starting pitchers and relief pitchers taking up those slots, because your relief pitchers are only going to get you so many points compared to starting pitchers. So everybody's kind of seemed to go the ways of only having one or two relief pitchers comparatively to what they were drafted as. Because I mean, you had a team that had almost all relief pitchers, and they had to scramble to find starting pitchers once they realized, oh, hey, these guys aren't getting as many points as a starting pitcher. Even if the starting pitcher sucks, they're still probably going to get one or two more points, and those could be crucial. It's just, my question would be for the future of pitching. I don't know if it's in Fantrax or not to have a separate pitching for starting and relief, or it's just one of those things that it just has to stick together as pitching as a whole.
Yeah, so unfortunately, when we switched to Fantrax from ESPN, we had a lot of issues with being able to change things after they happened, which is something that I think we really needed as, a first-time commissioner, and just as a whole, a league full of, 8 new owners. We are new to this, and so I think as we as management and ownership group discuss things, it just turned into we needed to move to Fantrax. The issue that we ran into was, yes, they aren't really separating the starts between the starting pitching and relief pitching. Unfortunately, in this league, without backtracking and possibly altering a lot of scores and statistics, we are going to basically be locked in this year to the starting pitching and relief pitching is conjoined together. I am actively looking to try to adjust it, but it seems like the issue is the only way in Fantrax that will work in allowing relief pitching and starting pitching to be separate in the starts is if we put in a number on relief pitching. So this is the issue that I think we as a whole group are going to have a real discussion about, because right now in the league that we agreed on, we don't say that 7 of your 9 have to be starting, but then you have to have 2 relief. We just said any 9 pitchers you want can be it. Well,
Right.
Fantrax, it doesn't want to work like that. If it's going to be, it's an all or nothing for them. So the only way with Fantrax moving forward that we would be able to separate those starts is if we designate a certain amount of people to relief pitching. So if we say certain slots are going to have relief pitchers, say we do 7 and 2, then I can say that relief pitching has unlimited starts, and it wouldn't count against the starting pitching. But the trade-off is that's now going to require everyone to have 2 relief pitchers. So it's just something that we are going to have to discuss, as a group, and see what we want.
I like the idea of having infinite amount of relief pitching. That would really boost up, in my opinion, a lot of point score totals for a lot of people. It's also the fact of, I mean, your prime pitcher, like your go-to guy, is only going to produce maybe, luckily, 40 points max. Not max, but 40 points on a good week, and that's him pitching twice in that same week. Most weeks, it's your pitcher's only pitching once, and that's not including, oh, he had a little strain, so he's taking the day off, and he goes through the team goes through another rotation of pitchers before he gets to pitching again. I mean, it's very little things, and then you got guys coming up from the minors that you've been watching, keeping an eye on, and they're like, oh, he's not a starter, but he's going to come in to do a 6th inning, 7th inning relief to get one guy out, two guys out. So I mean, there's a lot of factors to go on in this, and it'd be interesting to hear what the other owners have to say. But I mean, like I said, it's a brand new league. We're getting the wrinkles out, getting the kinks out. And speaking of getting the kinks out, we had a change of ownership here recently. One Avery has sold his team to
Yes.
another Stewart. Now, many people are speculating. We have two Saches in the league already, right? We already have a family growing. But rumors have been said that they are not really conjoined. When they go at it, they go at it. I mean, button heads, haymakers after haymakers. There's no fusion, no backdoor deals, no secrets. So hey, I'll slide you this, you slide me that. I mean, they're at each other's throats. We're speculating brothers now, not father son, brothers getting into the same league. How that is going to transpire. I mean, I've heard notes from saying, "Oh, the commissioner just wants another vote in his pocket for league discussions, or just basically another team to hide his players on and say, hey, I'll give you some cash and some picks, depending, I'm not gonna, I've only heard for a little. I'm not gonna give out all the details, but I mean, you have any comments about said bringing in your brother to take over Avery's team? And not to mention Avery's team 2-3 untouched. I don't know if he did one trade at all, if he's moved his roster around. But when Tyler came in, he dropped so many players, restocked the team, and is now at a 2-3 middle of the pack, fight for that wild card spot as your brother. And you basically could have potentially a partner in crime.
Yeah. Thanks for that beautiful setup. You know, I, I am kind of flabbergasted at the accusations. This is the first I've heard of all of this, and all I have to say is, that's crazy. In my opinion, we had a team that, like you said, is if my eyes don't deceive me, they're 3-4, and they were an untouched team. I mean, they came in with the first round picked Acuna, and then auto drafted the rest of the time. I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, Tyler, the other Stewart, inherited, I mean, a mess.
The best player in baseball.
The best player in baseball.
But
and then go ahead.
Like you said, an ugly team. Nothing flashy other than one player, exception of maybe another. But auto drafted pitchers. I mean,
yeah.
You were there during our draft night. We're like, why is the bot picking up all of these pitchers when there's so many batters that Avery could use? I mean, did Avery not care about the team he bought and started to build for, the future? Was it just to get his name out there for sponsorships and other deals and other sports to say, hey, I'm able to get this team. Now it's time for me to move on and go to bigger and better things? Like, I mean, your brother got him, for what I've heard, pretty cheap considering.
Yeah. I have to say, it's never a fun time when you have your eyes set on building something from the ground up, a league from scratch, and so short into the season that just you never plan for failure. And I'll leave it at that. It was in a bad spot. Like you said, it was untouched. And so Tyler got a good deal. He bought in at the right time, and now we are going to see if he's going to reap the benefits of what was just, started up from Avery. Bring back Chief Nakahoma is gone, and we have a new team, and I'm just intrigued to see what Tyler is going to do with it.
Right. I mean, he did acquire Acuna. I mean, talk about having a cornerstone for your team that you just bought to say this guy is staying, right? But
Right.
looking at the statistics of the first pick of this league. He is not performing to what everybody thought, right? I mean, his production numbers have not been up to par. I mean, what last year was MVP running? He had the stats. He was stealing bases, doing everything you could want from a baseball player. And this year, I mean, he can't hit the fastball. Getting caught stealing. It's kind of ridiculous. And outside of the ownership, I mean, ownerships have their favorite baseball teams. I mean, Reese and your brother are fans of the Braves, if I'm not mistaken.
They are indeed.
And looking at the team, I mean, where are they ranked? 25-13 on the season, behind the Phillies. Let's see here. I'm trying to get Acuna's all of his stats because I mean, the number one pick, you expect damn near I mean, you can't be a perfect baseball player, but if you're not producing at a high clip as the number one team, would you consider that a bust? Can you even say Acuna drafted number one a bust at all?
I think you can. I think it's funny when the difference is, for example, Backdoor Sliders owned by Reese. He had already written off Freddie Freeman as a bust. And Freddie Freeman, right now, 7 weeks in, is sitting at, let's see right here. Freddie Freeman has 111 points on the season. What does Acuna have? I don't even think it's close.
88 points on the season.
And if we can write off 111 point first round pick as a bust, then I think we sure as hell can write off Acuna as a bust, at least right now. Can he change it? I think. Everyone, I mean, if anyone's going to do it, you would think a former MVP would be able to turn those numbers around.
Right. I mean, his past 7 days, he had 10 points, averaging up 1.6 a game. He has 45 strikeouts, averaging a 253 batting average and an OPS of 717. I mean, number one draft pick? Really? Was it worth it? I mean, only time, like you said, only time will tell. But he is not doing what we thought. I mean, you look at his yesterday the 13th. 2 points, 3 at bats, 1 hit, 1 strikeout against a Chicago team that really isn't that good. I mean, I'm being blunt. Sorry, Jake. I know you're a fan, but Chicago is really not that good of a team, especially the Atlanta Braves, who somehow last year didn't make it to the World Series. And now this year, I mean, they're doing good. They're on track, but Acuna is not really helping the team by any means. He'll have his little spurts, like one game there, and then 2 series later, a game there, but he's not performing. And my team, the Rangers, I drafted Seager in the first round, and I would also be considering him a bust. He isn't performing to what I thought. He has even lower points on the season than Acuna at 71. Though, would you consider hernia surgery kind of like a crutch to say he's not back to his prime self because he missed spring training due to it? He looks out of sorts. I mean, he's getting hits, but then he just goes on a slump for 4 games.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good question to ask because, I mean, I'll tell you right now, if I had hernia surgery, I'd be screwed. I'm not gonna act like I'm some champ, but I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to do what I'm supposed to do. I don't know if it's a crutch just yet, but yes, he has definitely been disappointing. And I think something to keep a lookout for is it seems like almost everyone has had a team or player in the first or second round just honestly being absolute bust. And I don't know if we're just having poor management or team bias, but I look at Kevin Gausman was the first pitcher I selected. He was my second round pick, and he is sitting at 49 points on the season as a pitcher. He has had he's had 3 games in the negatives, and he was a Cy Young candidate last year. So he's been really disappointing for a Blue Jays team that relies so heavily on pitching to begin with. So even on my end, it's been painful watching some of my top end talent shit the bed.
Yeah, it's early going. Still not even close to the. I mean, we're a month out from the dog days of baseball. The summer months, June and July. Where players, in my opinion, really make their money. You know, because no one wants to be out there every day, double headers, sometimes in 100-degree heat, sometimes in a stadium that's really shitty with bad locker rooms, Oakland. And really, you just got to go out there, pedal to the metal, get the grind going, and just produce. And hopefully, I mean, there's also been other early round picks that really haven't been up to speed, but like it's still early in the season. We're at 40 plus games played by every MLB team at this point. Everybody's kind of settling in on what the team's looking like, if it's a rebuild season. The A's are surprising everybody for the way that their ownership is treating them. But it's baseball. It's what we love. It surprises here and there, everywhere. But to change topics, back to our fantasy league, we have a lot of trades going on. Some big, some small. Some people win the trade, some people lose the trade. My question to you would be, as a owner and commissioner, the draft picked values for the next seasons to come. So, like, we recently had Snell go for a 20th round. Big uproar through the ownership saying, wow, that was his worth. I mean, care to add comment? I mean, it shocked everyone.
Yeah, that was a doozy. And who could have imagined that the Paul Skeens drama would follow? That day was fun as an owner, but not fun as a commissioner. But yeah, these draft picks are just something that we are gonna create the value, and I think even with no true value put on yet, we know that Snell was traded for a bag of sardines. I mean, there's just no other way around it. It is something that I wouldn't be surprised if. I mean, Blake Snell just won the Cy Young. He was just short of 500 fantasy points. I think it was 483 fantasy points last season. So it's hard to see such a valuable pick or a valuable player go for nothing. Now, I will say what makes this hard is we are new to this. And the fact of the matter is, Blake Snell has negative points on the season. He's injured, and he didn't get drafted until the 20th round. So this is where I say we are going to end up setting the value, and only time is going to tell how bad that is. But yes, as one owner to another, it is hard to see how this trade won't go down as maybe the worst of the season, or who knows, maybe come next year's draft, Reese will be laughing at everyone saying, look at my 20th round picks.
Right. I mean, a trade went down between Jonas and I yesterday, and we did pick swaps. We have still yet to lay that foundation down, but we have it in ink that, hey, yeah, we're going to agree to a pick swap to where, I mean, is it going to be worth anything during those later rounds? Is that worth even putting into a trade to say, hey, if you're ahead of me, we're going to swap and I'm going to get this guy that I may or may not drop later on in the season, depending on injury, production, so on and so forth. I mean, it's hard to tell what the worth of a pick is due to stipulations we have on what we're the keepers we got going on. It'll be interesting to see after this season what it looks like next season. I know I'm getting ahead of myself. I mean, we just started this season, but the future looks fun. It looks intriguing, and I'm ready to see where it all pans out and where it goes. But the issue I have in this league is one team and one team only, and it's the A's to Z's. They are a burden to me personally, not as an owner, just as me, Johnathan. Adam Sage is like the Bill Belichick of this league so far. I mean, he is nickeling and diming his way to wins after wins. He is getting the guys, like he said in that interview that Jonas took of him. He got to know when players are hot or not, and he is doing his research, and it's pissing me off because it's I guess the Bill Belichick, the San Antonio Spurs of basketball, not flashy, nothing, no swagger at all, but they're going to produce and give you a run for your money. And I just hope, I wouldn't say hope, that's mean to say, I want him to lose every week. I am tired of seeing A's to Z's at the top of the rankings, of the standings, of production, of him winning trades, him knowing when to pick up some no-namer. It needs to stop. Someone needs to stop. Gunnar did a fantastic job last week seeing what the A's to Z's were doing with the pitching loophole, and he said, you know what, I'm going to fight fire with fire, and he did exactly that, and he did what many of us have not done, and that is beat Mr. Sage in his own game. And hats off to Gunnar. He did what many thought, because I didn't think Adam was going to lose again in the season. I really didn't. The way he's been shoveling out 250, 300 points a week. It's like his bad days are many other owners' good days. Like Jonas, he's had back-to-back weeks. He is the second top scorer in fantasy, and he loses the week. He can't catch a break, and I'm really rooting for Jonas. He is the people's champ, the people's team. You just can't help but not root for him. I mean, he does the little things. He interacts with the fans, does the community work, and the man who makes the videos, the man who gives us all a laugh with his memes. You can't help but say, man, I want to see him at least get to the quarterfinals, if not the finals of this first season of the league, and say, man, he had a run, because he's my favorite. He is my pick. I'll put money down. He is my pick to make it all the way to the finals and win it. That's my prediction.
That's a bold prediction you got there.
I have to stick by it. Adam, I hope he doesn't make it to the playoffs. Something happens to where he gets into a slump, because I mean, I'm in a slump. Jonas is in a slump. There's a lot of players in a slump. Tyler doesn't know what a slump is. It's his first week. But who does he face this week, actually?
He's playing A's to Z's this week. So
Tyler,
big introduction.
Big introduction. Haymakers, nukes, bombs headed your way. Get ready, because Adam, the man, Mr. Darth Vader, is going to do everything in his power to not lose. And I really want him to lose. That's what I do. Do you have any favorites? I mean, other than your own team, I know everybody's going to say, my own team. But if you weren't a part of it, if you're just pure commissioner, is there a team that you'd be in the background rooting for, saying, yeah, I'd like to see them succeed?
It's funny you say that. I really do think that Gunnar is a team to look out for.
Okay.
I mean, he just took down, I mean, like you
The
said,
top dog.
the Darth Vader of the league. I mean, even I'm on a 5-game undefeated streak, and I couldn't even beat Adam. The best I could do was tie. And while I'll take that with what I can, the truth is I think Gunnar has a risky team, and a lot is going to have to go right for him long term. But he has the big boys. He has boys that can hit and hit for power. He has boys that can throw the strikeouts, but the issue is when they mess up, they're getting struck out and they're giving up earned runs. So Gunner's team at their best is a team that can beat Adam. But I do believe Gunner's team at his worst could also be a team that loses to the 2 and 5 backdoor sliders. So I'll be intrigued to see what Gunner's team does because, we're talking about the slumps now. And I really do think over the course of a 20-something week season, stuff will balance out some. You're going to have your outliers, but it's hard to fathom one team just winning 13, 14 weeks in a row. But, never know. But if I had to put money on a team right now that wasn't my own, I think I'm going to take Gunner's team.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm sure the homers and the owner himself are going to appreciate the backing and the belief in that team. And it's anybody's game. Still early. We got a whole huge season ahead of us. This episode was just a catch up on the past weeks. I was going to release earlier, but we had the ownership change, like we said. It's new faces around town, and the rankings. Like I said, A's to Z's in first. Oh, I'm sorry, not A's to Z's. It changed the week. Suck on D's, Gunners in first, 5-2. Really surprising after an 0-2 start. I mean, he's on a hot streak, and hopefully he can keep going. But we'll see what this week transpires. Looking at after Monday's games, top scorer, you yourself, 90. Really good showing on day one. Let's see what you had here. Who gave you that 90?
You
had 12.
Look at Bregman.
You had 12 from Rushman, huge. Bregman 18. Mookie Betts doing his thing, 7. Barrios 17. Imanaga 13, and Keller 19. I mean, what a day for some of those players you had on your team. What a day indeed. And backdoor slider is struggling as he had. I mean, I just had a bad week against him last week. There's nothing I could do about it. You could just, get back out there and just keep trying to battle. But this week, looking pretty good for you, my friend. And hopefully by the end of it, you come out with the W and I come out with the W, and Tyler can record his first ownership win against one of the top dogs. Until next week. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Daniel, for joining me.
Hey, thanks
for
for
this
having me.
first episode. I am your most gracious host, Johnathan, the Cutoff Man, Silva, and I will see y'all next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.